child and my friends would fall and cut themselves, I'd take blood from their wound.
We have 800 hours of daytime footage of UFOs, anywhere from 1 to 100 per day.
There were more events predicted for our future that Nostradamus wanted us to be aware of. From the boundaries of the universe to the depth of your soul, embark on a journey through the unknown and unexplained as we explore mysteries, magic, and miracles. The search for unidentified flying objects is one of the most popular pursuits of our time. There are more reports of UFO activity today than ever before. Are we alone in the universe? Have other beings visited our Earth? And has the government hidden the truth from us? The interest in the subject keeps growing.
We went to Bob Brown's 4th Annual International UFO Congress. One of the questions asked was, is the government covering up what they know about ETs and UFOs?
The governments have got their ways of keeping their secrets, as many secrets they've been keeping for years and years and years, which the public probably will never ever find about. They've got their ways of suppressing people, but I think the biggest thing they ever did was create the aura of ridicule around the subject. It was a wonderfully orchestrated thing where people who lived in worked in responsible positions and this kind of thing, because of the ridicule syndrome that went with this thing, they were in imminent danger of being branded lunatics and losing their positions. Anybody who talked about the subject was branded an idiot. But of course that only went for so long, and after many, many more people started to have encounters and experiences, sooner or later this thing was going to surface, and that's precisely what it's doing at this moment in time.
I was fortunate a number of years ago to have a cosmic top secret clearance when I was at Shape NATO. That clearance allowed me access to the Shape NATO study that they did from 1961 to 1964. And at the completion of that 3-year study, they concluded that we were not alone, we'd probably never been alone, that we were being visited, surveyed, studied, or some program of some kind was underway by several, and I want to repeat, several high-technology extraterrestrial civilizations. The impact of that alone on me was kind of earth-shaking. They determined as a result of their 3-year study that there did not appear to be a military threat involved, which was basically the primary purpose of the study itself in the first place.
Daniel Sheehan is the well-respected lawyer who broke the Karen Silkwood case and exposed the Iran-Contra scandal to Congress. He told us that President Carter asked Marcia Smith, head of the Science and Technology Division of the U.S. Congress Research Office, to find out about UFOs.
She began to prepare the data, was given access to both unclassified and some classified data to prepare her report. And it was on the basis of this analysis that she did and supervised out of the Congressional Research Office that she came to the official conclusion that there was from 1 to 2 other intelligent, highly developed civilizations within our galaxy, other than our planet. Now, that was a fairly extraordinary finding, but it exists on the record as an official finding of the Congressional Research Office, and it was communicated to the Congress and then to the President. At that point, nothing more was done to release the information officially to the American public.
But the public's not buying. Jose Escamilla shoots video of UFOs 10 hours a day, every day. He sees them at Midway, a small community close to Roswell, New Mexico.
We recently captured a V formation of about 32 huge, 50-foot in diameter dome objects that are flying in formation. And beyond a doubt, they're not geese. There's nothing that suggests a neck or wing flutter. We have 800 hours of daytime footage of UFOs, anywhere from 1 to 100 per day. And for that to happen so blatantly and in broad daylight, I think that's definitely something behind it. What I consider to be profound is when you see something in the sky that is of extraordinary proportions and is sitting there, and it's circular, and it's just sitting there. You think it's a balloon, but then you look at it and it starts gliding, you know. and then you see other things just flashing by at extreme speeds. And you're saying, are my eyes playing with me, or do I get sky blind, or what is that? And this thing just moves and glides effortlessly. And then when you go back and see it on tape and you go freeze frame and you see hundreds of other objects around that you didn't see with the naked eye, that's very profound to me.
His prophecies predicted the fate of kings, world wars, man's landing on the moon, and the coming of a new antichrist. Was Nostradamus warning people of the inevitable, or was he giving us the power to change our fate? Nostradamus lived in the 1500s, a time of fear and superstition, when plagues ravished the earth and the church ruled the fate of people. He had visions of mankind's terrible future and its own destruction. Not unlike our time, many people then believed that his predictions were satanic. The church would put him to trial.
That's him! That's Nostradamus!
You were accused of the worst of all crimes: black magic, alchemy, worship of the devil.
He would continue his work, however, feeling that it was his duty to inform us of our fate so we could change it and create a better future for ourselves. His predictions that have come true. World War I and the beginning of communism. World War II, the rise of the Third Reich. Jewish massacres. The atom bomb attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And natural disasters. He also predicted the advancement mankind would make. The invention of aircraft, the first landing on the moon, and man's constant search for answers in space. These advancements will not go without mistakes, disastrous mistakes. The Vietnam War, a war out of control, and the Challenger, a dream shattered. Dolores Cannon is the leading expert on the Nostradamus predictions today. In 1986, something unexpectedly happened to her. As a past life hypnotherapist, she conducted what she thought would be a normal past life regression. A patient went back to a past life when she was a male student of Nostradamus. Nostradamus spoke through this patient.
I still have a hard time explaining what happened. He came through her and he said, "I have an assignment for you." He could see that his prophecies were not being correctly interpreted. He said, "The time is coming when they're going to come true."
I have to warn people. If they keep on like this, they will destroy everything. Nature, themselves.
Nostradamus gave Dolores the correct meanings of his predictions one by one. It took 3 years and 12 hypnotic subjects to complete the work. This was the first time that all Nostradamus' predictions have been translated, almost 1,000. Nostradamus told Dolores Cannon to concentrate on the next 20 years.
The 20th century will be especially terrible. 3 wars will spread over the entire earth.
And we have shown now that some of the prophecies have already begun to come true.
In the world's history, thousands of people were killed by plagues, epidemics, illnesses with no cures. Not unlike our own time that has been struck with its own plague, AIDS. Nostradamus said that AIDS was a mutated disease, a form of rabies that originated from a monkey biting a woman who lived in Africa. The disease got into the blood mobiles and laboratories, contaminating biological products being made. AIDS will continue to spread worldwide. A cure is predicted about 15 years after the spread of this disease. The date of the Gulf War was given to Cannon long before it occurred.
He said, "You don't know how important this is. This is the beginning of everything. This is actually the beginning of the Third World War."
This would instigate a few wars in the Middle East. The worst, however, is still to come.
There would be one man behind the scene during all of this time. This is the third Antichrist.
Nostradamus saw 3 antichrists in the course of Earth's existence. 2 were already predicted correctly, and we know them: Napoleon, Hitler. The 3rd has already been born, and said to be the worst of them all. Nostradamus wanted our time period to know about the 3rd Antichrist, so something could be done to stop him. This last Antichrist is the same entity referred to in the book of Revelation as the beast with the number 666. Nostradamus gave Dolores Cannon a detailed description of the 3rd Antichrist and even a sketch drawing of him through the help of an artist. He was born on February the 4th, 1962, in Jerusalem. In 1987, he was a student at an Egyptian college specializing in computers, business, and philosophy. Presently, he is in the background of everything that is happening in the Middle East. He is described by Nostradamus as an extremely handsome man with tremendous charisma. At first, he will appear as a savior and the man with all the answers. But he will be the opposite of what he appears to be. He will be the sheep in wolf's clothing. His work is secretly done now. How many of us know him already? There were more events predicted for our future that Nostradamus wanted us to be aware of. The Nazi Party will slowly but surely return to power during the 90s. It will come to light that hurricanes are a man-made event brought about by scientists attempting to control the weather. The next 2 decades will mark the downfall of the Catholic Church. The Earth's continents will shift with the rising of the ocean's water levels. This could occur during the next 4 decades. These are just to mention a few. This all sounds like gloom and doom, but Nostradamus saw the amazing ability for the human being to adapt. We could handle the changes as long as they are occurring gradually, as they are now. Nostradamus also gave us a glimpse of a wonderful time to come. He saw a man whom he called the Great Genius, an important figure whose coming would balance out all the evil in the world. The great genius would invent great wonders, and he would reign in the 1,000 years of peace when we would be traveling through the cosmos and living in space colonies. One question remains to be answered, though. How could we explain all of this?
I want to bring out a very important point that really shakes people up. In my work with him, he was most emphatic by saying, you are not speaking to the dead when we are communicating. It's the concept of simultaneous time, that there is no time.
We look upon Nostradamus as a mystery, but as facts prove, he was an extraordinary human being with an extraordinary talent. Could we prepare ourselves for Armageddon?
Nostradamus saw the end of the world, but he said it's so far in the future you don't need to worry about it.
Cannon merely sees herself as a reporter with only the well-being of mankind at heart. Nostradamus said that people underestimate the power of their own minds. He said that it is up to us to change the world's fate and create a better future for ourselves. How could we possibly ignore this? The hero's name is tarnished by a bloody glove. The masses cry for vengeance, but truth prevails. 1995 finds him free. The monster confesses and loses his soul in 18 months. This prediction by Nostradamus sounds familiar to all who know about the Simpson case. Even the most skeptical begin to wonder. Do you think that you could be a vampire? Here's a simple test. Do you sleep in a coffin? Do you like to drink human blood? Are you nocturnal? How do you feel about crucifixes, holy water, and garlic? According to an updated vampire census, there may be as many as 1,500 vampires worldwide. Meet Katrina Coffin, a real-life vampire.
I consider myself a vampire. My friends consider me to be a vampire. I'm nocturnal. I do have a casket that I sleep in, where in my 68 Cadillac hearse at the moment. I also happen to be the president and founder of the Los Angeles Hearse Society. I have a European coffin in the back of my car that came from Italy, and I have a skeleton in there. And people are fascinated with the hearses. You know, they think they're scary, but it's like a horror movie where you're scared, but you just can't look away. Yeah, I've been a vampire all my life. When I was a child and my friends would fall and cut themselves, I'd take blood from their wound, and it evolved into a thing where when I became a teenager, I'd have friends who would let me cut them with a razor blade or, you know, X-Acto knife or whatever and take their blood. And they became my donors. And no, I don't refer to them as victims. They're donors because they have to be consenting adults. I would never take blood from a child or an animal. When I was a child, my parents would always find me in the closet or in a large box or something. I like little dark enclosed places. I always have, and I still do. And I find caskets very, very warm and comfortable.
I think some of the lore came from congenital syphilis, which the victims of congenital syphilis had pointed teeth. They were very, very light sensitive. Their eyes were very pale with dark, like, rims around them, and they were light blind. So that could have been part of the lore of the vampire. And a lot of the new legend that's coming through in vampire lore is coming from Anne Rice. The vampires that are very seductive, that are still pretty human, that are not these creeping, crawling, dead things. The love, the sex, the drama, that's all the Anne Rice stuff.
Oh, I love horror movies. I've been watching horror movies ever since I was a child. I grew up with all the old Bela Lugosi vampire movies and Christopher Lee and all the Dracula, Hammer films. I love horror movies. I've always been nocturnal, so when I was a kid, instead of being asleep when I was supposed to be, I was up all night watching the old black and white horror movies.
No, I never thought I would. Not even in my most wildest dreams did I ever think I would live next door to a vampire.
Yes, all my friends and neighbors know. It's nothing I hide. I don't feel I'm doing anything wrong.
Well, most neighbors would naturally ask another neighbor, may I borrow a cup of sugar or a cup of flour? And of course, in her case, I mean, she never bothers me or says, well, you know, you might have to borrow a cup of blood, right? I mean.
And nowadays, I have donors, and I use a medical scalpel, and I take blood from them. And I take it directly from the wound because blood cools and coagulates very quickly. And once it's hit the air and cooled off, I don't enjoy it anymore. So it has to be fresh, warm, flowing, living blood.
I have told some of my friends. Well, they think it's weird. They think I should get out immediately. And they think that my life's in danger.
So I was telling her a story about when I had someone with me that we had seen Interview with the Vampire. And I was trying to keep myself off of this person, so I got some raw liver, heated it up in the microwave to about room temperature, or body temperature, actually. And yeah, about body temperature, and ate it, so I didn't have the urge to cut into this person that I was sitting with.
Or you get some rare steak. That's always good, and it's still bleeding.
There's an intimacy to the way I take blood because it comes directly from the wound. And I have to be in physical contact with the person. And I have no sexual contact because sexually I'm celibate. So when I take blood, it's very intimate, and my donors also enjoy it. And I have no fear of death. And I like cemeteries. They're very peaceful and quiet and pretty. And I just enjoy, you know, hanging out at them.
In superstitious lore, garlic is said to possess great powers, capable of fending off evil by its mere presence. Strands of garlic are often featured in vampire movies draped across windows or doors while the menacing bloodsucker paces outside. Similar beliefs about garlic are held in different parts of the world, far away from Transylvania and Count Dracula. In France, cloves of garlic are roasted on Midsummer's Eve and given to rural families for protection. In the Far East, garlic is thought to have the ability to bring back lost souls, and it's used in religious ceremonies. Are you seeking eternal life? If so, the question you need to ask yourself is, what are you willing to do to get it? I'm Patrick McNee. Join me next time for more mysteries, magic, and miracles.